President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, appealed for understanding and solidarity in the face of destabilization attempts against the Caribbean country. African leaders gathered in Abidjan to plead with the World Bank for need-aid plans to finance their economic recovery and the better access to vaccines against COVID-19. Raging floods caused by heavy rain ravaged areas of Germany and Belgium on Thursday, destroying buildings and sweeping away vehicles, with at least 77 people losing their lives in the natural disaster. Welcome to TeleSUR English. I am Denise Herrera and this is from the South. President of Cuba, Miguel Díaz-Canel, appealed for understanding and solidarity in the face of destabilization attempts against the Caribbean country. The Cuban head of state referred to the fact that the current situation is complex due to different contextual elements involved and demand the determination of the Cuban to overcome these difficulties. Díaz-Canel also reiterated that the country is facing a slander campaign as a result of the massive media campaign. Cuba reacts to new measures adopted by the Iceland government to improve the living conditions of the population and address the Iceland economic problems, exacerbated by the pandemic and the blockade imposed by the United States against the country.
There is a great need for medicine, food and hygiene items in order to ease the situation we are in at the moment, which is not easy at all and is quite complicated. I believe that President Miguel Díaz-Canel is making very good choices.
At this time, these measures are very good. They benefit the people and shed light on the economic situation in the country.
The riots in Cuba were promoted from Miami following the soft COVID scripts state-by-state percent. Demonstrations unpeaceful, but with clear extractions to attack the forces of order, disturb the public tranquility. We present some videos that give you an account of this.
Vamos a atacar los hoteles, las tiendas, estaciones de policía, a los carros policía que ustedes puedan derribar, que puedan tumbar, que puedan eso. Denle en candela, pero en el medio de la calle.
Pínchenle la goma también.
Porque tú que estás sentado ahora en tu casa, quizás lo que necesitas es una chispita para salir, para hacer video, y producto a ese video, a esa motivación que tú tienes, la otra persona que te ve tu video, que te ve en la calle, se motiva y lo hace, y es una cadena.
Tienen que también
para los
paraderos, hoteles, métanse en todos los hoteles,
robarla, destruirlo,
desbaraten todo eso.
Todo eso. Caballeros, botella con lubricante, si antes
baterla con lubricante o con petróleo o lo que puedan conseguir, con molotov.
Con mechones, ustedes hacen esos mechones y se tiran por la noche. Vamos a bloquear las calles, vamos a atacar los tanques de basura, vamos a virarlos para afuera.
Yo y más de 80 personas más, el propósito es entrar a Cuba y provocar que el mundo, que las personas correctas que tienen que ver las cosas lo vean y vean que no estamos jugando, vean que queremos un cambio y la libertad para Cuba, porque no queremos que se quede en política, no queremos que pasen los meses y el tiempo y todavía Díaz-Canel sigue ahí con su política.
Noticia de última hora. Camagüey fue tomado por el pueblo. Las 3 unidades de Camagüey fueron tomadas por el pueblo cubano.
Sabiendo que yo podría ser enviada a cualquier país, yo estaría muy orgullosa de al menos representar una causa que a mí me llega. Porque decir que los cubanos que estamos fuera hablamos y que no es muy fácil meterle fuego a la madera.
The Russian government reiterated its support for the people and government of Cuba and called the U.S. media assault on the island insolent. This was announced by the spokesperson of the Ministry of Exteriors of the country, Maria Zarakova, during the appearance before the press. The diplomat warned of Washington's attempts to unleash a destabilizing situation on the island in the form of a color revolution. Zarakova said that if the United States is truly concerned about the humanitarian situation of the Caribbean island and wants to help, it must lift the blockade, and it also condemned the whole world. Haitian National Police moved forward in the investigation of the assassination of Jovenel Moïse with the participation of the US, FBI, and other foreign experts. The director of the National Police of Haiti, Leon Charles, said that the investigation is well advanced and explained the degree of relationship between those already captured and those who are still fugitives. And he also informed that in recent hours the persons were detained, identified as Gilbert Dragon and Reynaldo Converton. This brings the total number of detainees to 23, of which 18 are Colombian and 5 are Haitians. He also stated that contrary to what he has been reported by the international media, the information gathered so far does not reveal any link between the Haitian Prime Minister, Claude Joseph, and the crime.
I already say no. There's no bonding. There's no bonding.
And why do you think they are doing it?
Well, manipulation, but no linkage.
But isn't there any kind of linkage or something within the research?
Nothing so far. Nothing so far.
In Colombia, the Special Jurisdictions for Peace indicated 2 colonels, 13 military personnel for 1,027 murders and 124 disappearances in the Caribbean region. The justice institution has indicated for war crimes and crimes against humanity another 15 members of the army belonging to the La Lopa battalion in Valledupar. The Special Jurisdictions for Peace Fund against partner and macro criminality in the actions of the army and alliance with the paramilitary groups in order to attract innocent young and men and kill them as they present them as guerrillas and thus manipulate the figures of deaths in combat and obtain forward rewards and incentive from their superiors. The government of Argentina decreed 5 days of national mourning in honor of the more than 1,000 deaths resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. Through a national decree, the government expressed its solidarity with the pain that society is going through for all the people who have been victims of the pandemic. The country reached on Wednesday the figure of deaths from the disease, with more than 4 million reported infections since the pandemic began in March 2020. Well, take a short break now. Don't go away. African leaders gathered on Thursday in Abidjan to plead with the World Bank for the new aids plans to finance their economic recovery and the better access to vaccines against COVID-19. Moussa Faki Mahamat, chairman of the African Union Commission, called for help to restructure the debt of the struggling African countries, which faces pressing needs for immediate liquidity to buy vaccines and set down the foundations of economic recovery. The meeting was called to discuss World Bank aid and Africa countries over the next 3 years.
Much remains to be done to overcome this crisis, which, as we are seeing these days, is global with several cycles. Indeed, less than 3% of the total population of Africa has received a first dose of vaccines, compared to about 54% in the US and the EU.
We will never tire of calling for urgent debt restructuring accompanied by a bold policy that goes beyond special entitlements to alleviate the pressing need for immediate cash for vaccine purchase and to lay the foundations for economic recovery.
World Health Organization Africa Regional Director said Thursday that COVID-19 cases are rising steeply in Africa, having increased by 1 million in a month, and warned that some hospitals across the continent of 1.3 billion people are now at the breaking point.
Over the past month, Africa recorded an additional 1 million cases. This is the shortest time it's taken so far to add 1 million cases. Comparatively, it took around 3 months to move from 4 million to 5 million cases. This COVID-19 resurgence is the fastest a continent has seen. New cases have increased for the 8th consecutive week, and 18 African countries are now in resurgence. The Delta variant, which is currently the most transmissible of all the variants, has been detected in 21 countries in Africa. There is a consistent upward trend in 12 countries with sharp increases in some, such as Algeria, Malawi, Senegal, and Zimbabwe.
Mauritius has opened its border to international travelers, both vaccinated and not vaccinated, from today, July 15, after long months of isolation. Phase 1 of the reopening of the borders for the Indian Ocean island, which run from today until September 30, allows vaccinated guests to stay in one of the 14,000 resort bubbles. Travelers to Mauritius must undergo a PCR test between 5 and 7 days before departure, and a negative result is required to enter the island. Vaccinated travelers must also have a PCR test on arrival at the airport in Mauritius and on what day 7 and 14 of the resort holiday as applicable. In Spain, official figures indicated that the number of people in severe material lack has grown 15% over the past year. This indicator is reported by the Living Conditions Survey of the National Institute of Statistics, published this Thursday, and shows that poverty in Spain soared after the COVID-19 pandemic. The risk of poverty rate reached 26.4%, the highest figure in recent years. Activists gathered outside the White House Thursday to protest Merkel's block of COVID-19 patients' waivers, which supporters so they will greatly improve access to vaccines. Demonstrators laid down body bags in front of the White House, as well as signs in Germany to stop blocking global COVID-19 vaccines. Merkel was also greeted by protesters chanting "Free the vaccines" when she arrived at Johns Hopkins University, which awarded that her honorary doctorate during her Washington visit.
And we have protesters here who've laid out body bags representing the global COVID-19 deaths since a waiver was first proposed at the World Trade Organization that would greatly expand COVID-19 vaccine production all over the world. And the symbolism really here is that delay equals death.
Likewise, German challenger Angela Merkel arrives at the White House ahead of the bilateral meeting with the U.S. President Joe Biden. During the meeting, the diplomats discussed the controversial Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is said to funnel Russian natural gas to Germany. Climate change and COVID-19 vaccine were other items to an agenda. More story coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back. Raging floods caused by heavy rain ravaged areas in Germany and Belgium on Thursday, destroying buildings and sweeping away vehicles, with at least 77 people losing their lives in the natural disaster. After homes were severely damaged or in some cases swept away, local residents started to clean up the debris and rebuild some normality. Emergency workers meanwhile continued to assist those still trapped and look for possible injured persons. Authorities used inflatable boats and helicopters in the German army deployed 200 soldiers to assist in their key operations.
The R is a tiny stream, you know. It usually only comes up to 50 to 60 centimeters, a completely harmless river. Nothing. Really, that's why people were taken by surprise. It is 4-5 times as much water in its current state, and last night was just madness.
The bridge was pulled up, still in time. You can pull up the footbridge over there. We got to safety, but then something between 8 and 12 cars came floating down the R, and at some point the bridge was gone.
The European Union released the groundwork for its transformation to combat climate change with a set of proposals which consider the end of the commercialization of cars with combustion engines by 2035. The plan aims to help achieve the goals and reducing at least 55% of the carbon emission by 2030. To this end, by the UX bloc of 26 countries will gradually introduce environmental requirements on automobiles and will promote the phase out of gasoline and diesel engine models from 2035 onwards. The plan also includes a proposal to gradually tax fuel use on flights within the European Union starting in 2023, with the aim of forcing a reduction in emissions in the sector. The government of Sudan requested international mediations to conduct negotiations for the Grand Renaissance Dam, which is being built in the territory of Ethiopia, where it crosses the Nile River. The Sudan's Minister of Irrigation Yasser Abad urged the United States government and the U.S. Security Council to intervene at the negotiation table of the dispute share of the dam project. The Sudanese official referred to the talks and held with the European Union envoy for the Horn of Africa, Annette Weber, and on the recent dam crisis, and reiterated his country's position is calling for an effective mechanism to maintain the negotiations between Sudan, Ethiopia, and Egypt. The Israeli government called on this intensified the organizations of measures in view of the possibility of Iran acquiring nuclear weapons. The Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz asked the executive to intensify the accumulation of force at that plans and capabilities, considering that Iran represents a threat if managed to acquire a nuclear weapon. The official asked the government to allow the security service to maintain military superiority to guarantee its existence and promote peace. Syria and Iraqi governments coordinate efforts to distribute water from Tigris to Euphrates rivers. The Syrian Foreign Minister Faisal al-Maghdad met on Thursday with the Iraqi Water Minister Resources Mahir Rusadi al-Hamdani to establish coordinations between two countries in the terms of water and water resources. Both agreed to promote joint action and increase level of coordinations in various areas to secure rights of both Tigris and Euphrates river countries in the common interest of the countries. In the sense, they indicate that they will work to achieve an equitable distribution of water between the state where the rivers originate and the two countries that cross under the laws and international agreements signed. In Afghanistan, the Taliban movement on Thursday urged the government to declare a 3-month ceasefire. The spokesman for the Afghan government delegation in negotiations with the Taliban, Nader Naderi, announced the proposal and added that the exchange that demanded the release of 7,000 militants of the movement who were previously captured. The press conference was held before a meeting in Kabul on Thursday for a delegation of 11 Afghan politicians to travel to Doha to continue negotiations. The talks, which have been in progress since September 2020, have been interrupted several times and were recently resumed. We have come to the end of this new brief. You can find these and many other stories in our website at telesur.net. And join us on social media for TeleSUR English. I am Denise Herrera. Thank you for watching.